What if I told you that the single most powerful thing affecting your energy bill right now has nothing to do with how many lights you leave on, how long your shower runs, or whether you remembered to unplug the microwave? What if the real drain, the one quietly bleeding your wallet every single month, was hiding somewhere most people would never think to look? And what if fixing it cost less than a cup of coffee, which we're talking about $4, a few inches of wire, and a concept so simple that once you see it, you genuinely cannot unsee it. That's what today is about. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand something about energy in your home that most people go their entire lives never knowing. Let's start with something you probably recognize. You get the electricity bill, you open it, and for just a second, your stomach drops because it's higher than last month. Again, you didn't do anything different. You didn't leave the AC running all night or throw a party with every light blazing. You were responsible, or at least you tried to be. And yet, the number on that bill keeps climbing, slowly, steadily, like it has a life of its own. So you do what most people do. You Google how to lower electricity bill, and you end up reading the same 12 tips you've seen 100 times. Unplug devices, switch to LED bulbs, use cold water for laundry, and you try them, you really do, but the bill barely moves. Maybe it drops $5, maybe $10, and the next month it creeps right back up. It feels like no matter what you do, the house is just hungry, always consuming, always costing. Now picture someone completely different, same climate zone, similar sized home, similar appliances, but their bill is a fraction of yours. Not slightly lower, they're dramatically lower. And they're not living uncomfortably. They're not sitting in the dark or sweating through summer without cooling. They just know something you don't, something small, something that most electricians won't mention and most energy companies have no incentive to advertise. That's the gap we're closing today. Because what this person figured out isn't some high-tech solar panel setup or an expensive smart home system. It's a simple correction, a $4 fix, rooted in basic electrical physics that your house desperately needs, and almost certainly doesn't have. Before we get into exactly what this is and how it works, I want to be upfront with you. When I first came across this, I was skeptical, genuinely. The phrase $4 fix that cuts your bill 90% sounds like exactly the kind of thing someone writes on a flyer and tapes to a telephone pole outside a gas station. It sounds too simple, too cheap, too good. But here's the thing about things that sound too simple. Sometimes they actually are simple, and we've just been conditioned to expect complexity. We've been taught that saving money on electricity means buying expensive equipment or making major lifestyle changes. So when someone tells you there's a dirt cheap wire solution hiding in plain sight, your brain rejects it before it even gets the chance to evaluate it. I'm asking you to hold that skepticism lightly for the next few minutes. Don't abandon it. Just hold it loose and let the logic speak for itself. The story of how this idea came back into public awareness is a quiet one. It didn't start with a viral video or a tech startup. It started with older homes. Specifically, people renovating older homes, the kind built in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, started noticing something strange. When they brought electricians in to update the wiring, some of those electricians pointed out grounding issues. Not dangerous ones, necessarily, just inefficiencies. Little mismatches in the way the electrical system was connected to the earth. The homeowners who had those corrections made didn't just get safer homes. They started reporting something else. Their appliances seemed to run smoother. Their sensitive electronics lasted longer. And in some cases, their energy consumption dropped noticeably, even though nothing else had changed. Nobody made a big announcement about it. It just quietly spread through renovation circles and energy forums, whispered between people who pay close attention to how their homes actually function. And here's the historical piece that most people completely miss. Grounding. The concept of connecting an electrical system to the physical earth has been part of electrical engineering since the very beginning. The founders of modern electrical infrastructure understood that without a proper reference point, electrical systems waste energy through what's called reactive power, electromagnetic interference, and inefficient current flow. Early electrical codes were actually quite rigorous about grounding standards. But as construction accelerated through the post-war boom, as homes were built faster and cheaper to keep up with a growing population, some of those nuanced best practices got simplified, stripped down. Corners got cut, not maliciously, just practically. And the result is that a significant portion of American homes today have grounding systems that work. In the technical sense that they won't electrocute you, but are not optimized in the electrical sense. They're doing the minimum. And minimum grounding means your electrical system is running with a kind of low-grade inefficiency, invisible, constant, and cumulative. Now, why isn't this common knowledge? Why doesn't every electrician lead with this when they walk into your home? The honest answer isn't a conspiracy. It's simpler than that. It's incentives. Energy companies make money when you use more energy, not when you use less. That's not a villain story, it's just a business model. And electricians, for the most part, are trained to make things safe and functional, not to optimize for efficiency in the subtle, nuanced way this kind of fix requires. The people who do know about this, the engineers, the building scientists, the energy auditors who go deep into the numbers, they're not on primetime television. They're in technical journals and niche forums, talking to each other. Meanwhile, the average homeowner is being sold smart thermostats and energy-efficient appliances, which absolutely help, but which don't address this foundational layer underneath everything. It's like buying premium gasoline for a car that has a slow leak in the fuel line. The good gas helps a little, but the leak is still there. So let's talk about the actual science in plain language. Every electrical system in your home is built around three elements: a hot wire that carries current in, a neutral wire that carries current back out, and a ground wire that connects your system to the earth. In a perfectly functioning system, current flows cleanly, in through hot, out through neutral, with the ground acting as a stable reference point. But when grounding is weak, improper, or has degraded over time, you get something called electrical noise. The current doesn't flow as cleanly. Appliances have to work slightly harder to do the same job, because they're fighting microscopic interference in the line. Think of it like trying to have a phone conversation in a room with a lot of background noise. You can still hear each other, but both people have to expend more effort. Speaking louder, listening harder. That's your refrigerator, your HVAC, your water heater, operating in a home with poor grounding. They're louder, they're working harder. And working harder means consuming more power. The $4 fix, at its core, is this: improving the grounding connection between your home's electrical panel and the earth. In many homes, especially those more than 20 or 30 years old, the grounding electrode, the metal rod that goes into the earth outside your home, has either corroded, loosened over time, or was never installed to optimal specification. The wire connecting your panel to that rod is called the grounding electrode conductor. And in some homes, this wire has become compromised. It's not broken. Again, it still technically functions. But it's not making the kind of clean, low-resistance connection that it should be. Replacing or supplementing this connection, adding a short section of heavy-gauge copper wire and ensuring a clean, tight connection at the grounding clamp is a job that costs almost nothing in materials. The copper wire itself runs about $4 for a short length at any hardware store. The clamp is inexpensive. And the result is a grounding system that actually does what it was always supposed to do. Here's what this looks like in practice. Imagine a family in Ohio. Average 3-bedroom home, 2 adults, 2 kids, central air conditioning. Their summer electric bills were consistently running between $200 and $240 a month. They had a home energy audit done, not because of this specific issue, but because they were generally frustrated with their bills. The auditor flagged their grounding as suboptimal, not dangerous, just degraded. They had a licensed electrician make the correction. It wasn't a dramatic renovation. It took about 2 hours. The materials cost under $10 total. The following summer, their average bill dropped to around $160. That's not 90%. Let's be honest about that. But it's a 25 to 30% reduction on a recurring monthly cost. From a 2-hour fix that cost less than lunch, over a year that family saved nearly $1,000 from a wire. Now, here's the second layer that makes this even more interesting, and it's something most people in this conversation don't mention. Your grounding quality doesn't just affect energy efficiency, it affects the lifespan of your appliances. Here's why that matters for your health and your budget simultaneously. When your electrical system runs with chronic low-grade interference, your sensitive electronics, your refrigerator's compressor, your HVAC's motor, your medical devices, if you use them at home, experience what's called electrical stress. Over time, this stress accelerates wear. Components fail sooner. Motors burn out faster. The average American spends hundreds to thousands of dollars replacing appliances that, in many cases, simply wore out faster than they should have because they spent years running in an electrically noisy environment. Improving your grounding doesn't just lower your monthly bill, it extends the operational life of nearly everything plugged into your home. The savings compound over time in ways that are easy to miss if you're only looking at this month's number. Now, I want to be honest with you about the limitations, because this video will mean nothing to you if you don't trust it. This fix is not a magic solution that works the same way in every home. If your home was built recently, within the last 10 to 15 years, there's a decent chance your grounding is already up to modern code, and this particular intervention may offer minimal benefit. If your grounding is genuinely fine, improving it further won't hurt, but the savings will be smaller. Additionally, this is not a do-it-yourself project if you're uncomfortable around electrical panels. The concept is simple. The execution involves your home's main electrical system, and that's not a place for guesswork. You want a licensed electrician to assess and make this correction. The materials are cheap. The labor for a straightforward grounding update is typically modest. Get multiple quotes if cost is a concern. And before anyone does anything, have your current grounding checked. An energy auditor or licensed electrician can test grounding resistance with basic equipment and tell you within minutes whether this is likely to help your specific home. There's something quietly profound about all of this. We live in an age of extraordinary complexity. We're surrounded by smart technology, algorithmic optimization, and systems engineered to an almost incomprehensible degree of precision. And yet, one of the most meaningful improvements you can make to your home's energy consumption comes down to a connection, a piece of copper wire making proper contact with the earth. That's it. There's something almost philosophical in that. The idea that beneath all the complexity, what your home needs most is simply to be properly grounded. Literally. The solution isn't another app or another subscription or another upgrade. It's a return to basics, a restoration of something that was always supposed to be there, but quietly degraded when no one was paying attention. That happens a lot in life, not just in homes. Systems drift, standards erode, slowly in ways nobody notices, until one day someone actually looks. If this resonated with you, if it made you think, or made you want to pull out your electricity bill and actually look at it with fresh eyes, that's exactly what Vitanova Health is here for. Not to sell you something complicated, but to hand you the simple, grounded knowledge that makes a real difference. Drop a comment below and tell us, how much is your monthly electricity bill right now? We're genuinely curious. And if you know someone who complains every month about their energy costs, share this with them. Not because it's guaranteed to fix everything, but because it might fix more than they ever expected, for a lot less than they imagined possible.